Oklahoma Newsroom. You're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell, and we are brought to you by Papa John's Pizza. Go online anytime and order your pizza at papajohns.com. It's time for Inbox Barry. Email questions answered here on video. Let's get started with Matt. Matt says, what are your thoughts on Enes Kanter as a defensive prospect? There was a recent Scott Brooks quote that made it sound like it was easier to add defensive skills to an offensively skilled center than the other way around. Do you agree with that?
I do agree, but I'm not crazy about building your future on either one. Enes Kanter is much more of a defensive suspect than a defensive prospect. Had defensive problems in Utah. Utah trades him here. He's great on offense, great rebounder, but can't guard anybody. Utah goes on a big run, was one of the better teams in the NBA the last 2 months of the year, playing really good defense. So maybe the new coaching staff, Billy Donovan's staff, can figure out the secret to getting Kanter in the right position and play the pick and roll better, move his feet better. But I think it's an uphill battle to turn Enes Kanter into a good defensive player.
Well, I think that's probably right. Good defensive player, maybe not. But I think he can be passable as a defensive player. I think he can be better as a defensive player. I mean, what he can do with his feet, he's very agile. I think he's able to move well enough to play better defense. But, you know, Kanter's kind of an interesting case study because he's a guy that played club ball overseas, which, you know, had some issues with the high schools and the clubs and all that. Not a lot of defense being played in his prep days. Then he goes to Kentucky, never plays there. So, you know, how much is he really thinking defensively? Goes to Utah, gets disgruntled there. They might be teaching him defense, but is he really listening? So I don't know how much he's been worked with on defense. And, you know, you see the improvement Steven Adams has made. You see the improvement that a lot of guys have made under the Thunder system. It'd be interesting to see if Billy Donovan, like you say, and that staff can continue that trend with Enes Kanter and his defense. All right, back to the inbox. This one's from Steve. He says, I'm still bewildered why Sam Presti ditched a coach that had taken this team to the NBA Finals with less talent than he will have healthy next year. What about that, Barry?
Well, I mean, I think Sam Presti came to the belief that Scotty Brooks wasn't the best ticket to win the title. I think Scotty did an excellent job. As you said, he got to the 2012 NBA Finals a little bit ahead of schedule. The last 2 years, or the previous 2 years, injuries sort of derailed the Thunder in the playoffs, but there was still sort of especially in 2014 and parts of this season, the nagging belief that something was missing. And I think Sam never did have the coach that was all in with the Thunder way in terms of the player development and the analytics and all those things that Sam believes in so much. I think he was ready to go all in with a guy that would sort of be his partner in trying to lift this franchise where he wants to take it. So who knows if Billy Donovan can match or supersede what Scotty Brooks did, but I think Sam Presti believes that Donovan can do just that.
You know, I think this is a really interesting question because it even begs a different question that some people have asked, and that what exactly changed between a year ago and now that Sam Presti didn't just pull the trigger on this move a year ago and changing coaches, and I think it's totally legit. But to me, what it comes down to is not so much what Scott Brooks lacked, but I think this is what Sam Presti thought he could find in a different coach. Because I think Scott Brooks, maybe not this next season, but I think at some point he's going to get a chance to coach another NBA team and will probably do very well. I think he is a good, solid NBA coach. But I think Sam Presti, a lot of what we've seen out of him is sort of rethinking basketball, rethinking what it looks like, what it feels like, trying to be on the cutting edge of things, the analytics, which you mentioned, Barry. I think that was really big. I mean, I think Scott Brooks, he's an old school guy, he's not any older than Billy Donovan. They're exact same age, but I think that Billy Donovan trends a little bit more towards some of those things. He was analytics before they were analytics. So I think that's a really big deal, and Sam Presti felt like he could go find a guy that had some of those things, whereas Scott Brooks was just a different style coach, just did things a little bit differently. All right, back to the inbox. This one's from Patterson. Patterson says, please tell me Billy Donovan is not one of those college coaches I've seen on TV yelling and screaming in their players' faces. I've seen some college coaches practically rip the heads off a kid, and I will always stop watching that type of coaching.
Okay, I'll be glad to. Billy Donovan is not the kind of college coach who screams at his players. And I actually believe that because of what I've learned about Donovan over the last week or so. I think at one time he was sort of the maniac type coach that we've come to know so well in the college game. But the people that have followed his career say that he's mellowed in the last 5-10 years or so. He's not the crazy guy that just that tries to motivate through fear and intimidation. That he's a lot more just sort of soft-spoken with his players, a lot more instructive than sort of instinctive, and really has changed. We'll see if that's. It's clear that he has to in the NBA. No one gets anywhere yelling at players in the NBA, but it looks like Donovan has already made that change, and if he has, it's going to be a much smoother transition.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think there's definitely some video out there of him doing exactly what you're asking about, and so I think that there may be times and places where he has gotten into guys' faces, held them accountable, and frankly, I think that's okay. Look around the league. Look at some of the coaches that are very successful, whether you're talking about Steve Kerr, Tom Thibodeau, Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich will eat the ear off of Tony Parker if given the chance. So I think the holding players accountable, I don't have any problem with that. Some players respond better to coaching one way or another, that harder style, the yelling. Others don't. It's going to take Billy Donovan to figure out who responds well to what and then to approach his players in the best way possible. All right, one more time to the inbox. This one comes from Kevin Durant, perhaps? No, I don't think so. Kevin says, where does Tony Allen, all right, maybe this is Kevin Durant, rank in players coached by Eddie Sutton at Oklahoma State? While he was in college, obviously Tony Allen playing with the Grizzlies, great defensive player there, Oklahoma State pedigree.
Well, and we saw game 2 there in Oakland on Tuesday night. Tony Allen doing a great defensive job on the Warriors, primarily on Steph Curry. But Allen, I think, is clearly the best NBA player produced by Eddie Sutton at OSU. Not the best NBA player ever produced by Sutton. That would be Sidney Moncrief. But Tony Allen has had a great NBA career, 11 years now in the league, a defensive demon, and just really elevates that Memphis squad. Was Tony Allen the best player Sutton had at OSU? No. I think it's still Byron Houston or Big Country, one of the two. They were dominant on the boards, in the on offense. Also big stoppers in the lane on defense. So probably not as impactful in college as those guys, but clearly in the NBA, Tony Allen ranks #1.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think it takes the right setup because Tony Allen, I think, would find a home in just about any NBA franchise out there, but clearly Memphis, defensive-minded, really loves that. He does have some offensive skills. I'm not saying he's without talent on the offensive end. Frankly, he's offensively where I bet the Thunder would one day hope Andre Robertson would get. He really has enough skill that he's not a huge detriment on the offensive end. But yeah, if Andre Robertson gets to the point where Tony Allen is, the Thunder would be very, very happy with that. Great, great NBA player. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.